In England, the Hundred Years, 1450 to 1550, commences amidst conflicts, social upheaval, and near disorder. It ends with the establishment of a stable ruling family, a reformed religious framework, and a populace unified and advancing. Internationally, a significant intellectual surge termed the Renaissance is evident, characterized by a profound thirst for knowledge, shifts in religious beliefs, exploration leading to the discovery of new lands both in geography and literature, and a notable acceleration in cultural and intellectual pursuits. In England, groundwork is being laid for the subsequent remarkable epoch. Despite its lengthy duration, the lack of substantial literary output during this period is puzzling. There are no noteworthy English poets, and the prose writings are both sparse and of mediocre quality. Without the contributions of Scottish poets, the era would be notably lacking. Scottish poetry emerges relatively late but rapidly gains significance. Despite Scotland's economic struggles, disunity, and limited access to educational resources, its literary progress is hindered. However, these challenges are gradually diminishing, leading to a noticeable improvements in this aspect. The waning popularity of Romance literature coincides with the rising prominence of drama, which better aligns with the increasing intellectual pursuits of the era. This shift is accompanied by the emergence of professional actors and playwrights in response to genuine demand. Despite its apparent lack of productivity, this period holds significant importance. It serves as a period of necessary rest and rejuvenation compared to a fertile fallow season, allowing for the germination of new literary impulses. When the opportune moment arrives, this period of rest enables the swift and enduring emergence of new literary movements. James I was captured by the English in 1406 and remained in England until 1424 when he married Joan Beaufort. During his captivity, he wrote The King is Square, which follows the style of Chaucer with its dreamlike narrative and allegorical figures. It's written in the rhyme royal stanza, possibly named after him. While the language is mix of Scottish and Chaucerian forms, the poem contains brilliant descriptions and passionate declamations comparable to Chaucer's work. Other poems like Pebbles to the Play, Justice Kirk on the Green have been attributed to him, but doubts persist about his authorship. Sir David Lindsay, born in Fifthshire around 1490, served in the royal court and became Lion King of Arms. His major works include The Dream, The Testament of Squire Meldrum, The Testament and Complaint of Papingo, and Anne Pleasant's satire of the Theory Estatis. His writing reflects a Chaucerian influence, with Anne Pleasant's satire of the Three Estates containing sharp satire aimed at the church and society. Lindsay's style is characterized by coarseness, yet displays a robust humor, honesty, and energy. Little is known about Henderson's life, except that he was likely a schoolmaster in Dunfermline. His notable works include a version of Aesop's fables, The Testament of Cresside, Orpheus and Eurydice, and Robin and Mackin. The Testament of Cresside serves as a continuation of Chaucer's Troilus and Cresside and exhibits a tragic conclusion. Robin and Mackin stands out for its lightness, brevity, and precision, making it a notable pastoral poem among his works. Henderson's writing style blends Chaucerian and colloquial Scots language with vivid descriptions reminiscent of Spenser's later work. William Dunbar is recognized as the foremost Scottish poet following the Chaucerian tradition. Born in East Lothian, he studied at St. Andrews University and later became a wandering friar after visiting France. Upon returning to Scotland, he served in the household of James IV and eventually became the official rhymer. Dunbar's works, comprising 90 poems, predominantly reflect Chaucerian influences but possess a distinct energy and vividness. Among his notable pieces are The Golden Target, The Thistle and Royce, The Dance of the Seven Deadly Sins, Tua Marit, Women and Widow, The Lament of the Maccaris. His writing often explores various themes with striking imagery and skilled meter. Gavin Douglas, a member of the influential Douglas family, studied at St. Andrews University and possibly in Paris. He pursued a career in the church and eventually became the Bishop of Dungald. Despite his involvement in politics, he faced setbacks and was expelled to England, where he died. Douglas's notable works include The Palace of Honor, King Heart, Conscience, and his translation of Virgil's Aeneid. While he was scholarly and diligent, his writing style tended to be verbose, lacking the vigor seen in his contemporaries. John Skelton emerged later in the period but is regarded as one of the most significant poets. His birthplace is uncertain, but he likely received education at Oxford and Cambridge. Skelton served as a tutor to Prince Henry and held clerical positions, though his sharp criticism led to his downfall. His works mostly lost include Garland of Laurel, known for its stilted style. Skelton's strength lies in satire, evident in poems like Why Come Ye Not to Court, targeting Wolsey, and The Tuninge and Elinor Rumminge, depicting drunken revelry. He also wrote serious pieces like Dirge on Edward IV, The Bogue of Court, and the morality play Magnificence. John Lingate was highly esteemed during his lifetime, but little of his work remains today. Born near Newmarket, he became a monk at Bury St. Edmunds and gained renown as both a scholar and poet. Lydgate, influenced by Chaucer, produced a vast body of poetry but lacked Chaucer's skill and imagination. His lengthy works like The Falls of Princes, The Temple of Glass, and The Story of Thebes are criticized for their verbosity, lack of humor, and pedantic allegory. Occasionally, as seen in London Lyckpenny, Lyngate's writing shows liveliness, but overall he struggles with meter and falls prey to common literary flaws of his time. Thomas Accleve, whose birthplace is uncertain, worked as a clerk in the Privy Seal Office before retiring to Hampshire. His notable works include The Regiment of Princes, written for Henry V, and La Male Regi, which contains autobiographical elements. Accleve's poetry reflects the declining standards following Chaucer's death, characterized by tedious sermons and lackluster style. His works such as The Complaint of Our Lady and Accleve's Complaint are indicative of this degeneration in literary quality. Alexander Barclay was a priest in Devonshire and later lived in a monastery in Ely. His significant work, The Ship of Fools, translated from a German work by Sebastian Brandt, introduces a new form of allegory featuring satirical portraits of foolish individuals. Barclay's Certain Eclogues is the earliest English collection of pastorals offering glimpses into country life alongside commentary on contemporary issues. Despite little known about his background, Barclay's works demonstrate keen observation and biting satire. Reginald Peacock was possibly born in Wales around 1390. Educated at Oxford, he entered the priesthood and gained attention for his criticisms of the Lollards, a religious movement. However, his views were considered heretical, leading to his conviction in 1457. Peacock had to publicly recant his beliefs and resign from his position as Bishop of Chichester. He died in obscurity around 1460. His notable works include The Represser of Overmuch Blaming of the Faith. William Caxton played a pivotal role in the history of English literature as the first English printer. His contributions include printing various English works such as Chaucer and Malory's writings, as well as translating and printing texts from French, Dutch, and Latin sources. Despite his efforts to write in an understandable English style, his writing often suffered from complex sentence structures and the inclusion of untranslated foreign words. John Fisher, born in Yorkshire, opposed Henry VIII's attempts to control the English Church during the Reformation. Imprisoned in the Tower of London in 1534, he was later made a cardinal by the Pope, but was ultimately beheaded by Henry's orders. Fisher's works, primarily in Latin, represent early examples of rhetorical religious prose in English literature, showing advancements in style that would influence future writers like Jeremy Taylor. Hugh Latimer, born in Leicestershire, served as chaplain to Henry VIII and later became Bishop of Worcester. He resisted certain reforms of Henry's reign, leading to imprisonment in the Tower, and was eventually executed during the reign of Mary I. Latimer's English prose works, consisting of sermons published in 1549, are known for their straightforward and authoritative style, marking him as one of the first writers of plain prose. Sir Thomas More, born in London, was educated in law and served in Parliament. He was influenced by humanist thinkers like Erasmus and Cole. More's refusal to accept Henry VIII's authority over the church led to his imprisonment and execution in 1535. His Latin works, including Utopia, are highly regarded for their elegance and wit. In English, More's writings are clear and competent. Though lacking in distinctiveness, he is considered one of the early practitioners of the middle style in English prose. During the later Middle Ages, there was a notable growth in native drama, setting the stage for the flourishing theatrical era of Elizabethan times. Medieval drama was not directly influenced by ancient classical drama, but rather by popular festivities and rituals. These festivities included mumming, Morris dancing, and symbol performances depicting stories like those of Robin Hood and St. George. The church played a significant role in reviving drama through liturgical practices. Easter representations, gradually evolving into dramatic performances, were initially part of religious ceremonies. These plays expanded to include stories from the Bible, covering events from the creation to the day of judgment. Monastic and cathedral records from the 11th century onwards mention properties used in these plays. Over time, control of these performances shifted from the clergy to social and trade guilds. Guilds became responsible for producing plays, with each guild often taking on a specific episode from a cycle. Performances became more elaborate, leading to the evolution of ambulatory cycles performed on courts or pageants. These cycles became associated with festivals like Corpus Christi, becoming major public events. However, the revelry and secular elements introduced into the plays led to opposition from the church. The religious significance of the plays declined as more secular and sometimes coarse elements were incorporated. Miracle plays were performed in about 40 different districts in England, with notable cycles in Chester, York, and Wakefield. Each cycle had its stylistic characteristics with varying metrical patterns and use of alliteration. Plays from different cycles varied stylistically, with some featuring elaborate metrical patterns and others focusing on alliteration. The Wakefield plays, in particular, are known for their artistic use of language and variety of stanzas. Morality play showcased virtues and vices as allegorical characters, often with lively portrayals. Characters like justice, mercy, gluttony, and vice were common, and characterization, though sometimes crude, was marked by strong contrasts and broad farcical elements. The comic character Vice, whose main role was to tease the devil, was particularly popular. Interlude form of drama emerged around the mid-16th century. It was characterized by short plays featuring real characters of humble rank, such as citizens and friars. Unlike morality plays, interludes lacked allegorical figures and instead focused on broad farcical humor, often of a coarse nature. The introduction of set scenes was a notable innovation. John Haywood was a prominent writer of interludes with works like The Four Ps, The Joan, showcasing his sharp wit and clever sayings. The earliest English dramas began to emerge around 1550, influenced by the renewed study of classical drama, particularly the works of Seneca. Tragedies of this period had a stiff style, conventional characters, and often included features like the dumb show. Gorboduc by Sackville and Norton is considered one of the earliest tragedies, characterized by its wooden blank verse. Historical plays inspired by early chronicles combine tragic and comic elements, unlike classical drama. Comedies drawing from Latin and Italian models were characterized by mixed verse and prose, primitive humor, and lively songs and ditties. Examples include Ralph Roister Doister by Nicholas Woodall and Grammar Gutton's Needle, offering glimpses of contemporary English life. The development of the English Bible began as early as the 8th century, when Bede translated part of the Gospel of St. John into Old English prose. During the Old English period, works like the Lindisfarne Gospels and writings of Elfric contributed to this effort. However, during the Anglo-Norman period, English translation slowed due to the influence of French and Latin. Things changed with Wycliffe, whose influence led to two complete versions of the Bible around 1384 and 1388. William Tyndale was a key figure in shaping the Bible as we know it today. He relied directly on Hebrew and Greek originals rather than Latin translations like the Vulgate. Tyndale faced persecution and had to work abroad where his translations were printed. Miles Coverdale continued Tyndale's work, though he lacked the same level of scholarship. His 1535 edition was the first complete English Bible to be printed. Other translations followed, including Thomas Matthew's version in 1537 and the Great Bible in 1539, authorized by Henry VIII. The Geneva Bible, known as the Brickey's Bible, was published in 1560 and gained popularity. Elizabeth's first reign saw the release of the Bishop's Bible in 1568, intended to rival the Geneva Bible's influence. These translations paved the way for the Great Authorized Version in 1611. During this period, we witness the emergence of the pastoral or eclogue in works like the Barclay's Eclogues and Henryson's Robin and Mackin. The pastoral, popularized by Virgil and Theocritus in classical times, had already gained popularity in Italy, France, and Spain before making its way to England in the 16th century. It featured conventional shepherds and shepherdesses with names like Colin, Phyllis, and Phoebe, along with scenes of sheep, meadows, and flowers. Though England had yet to experience its golden age of pastoral poetry, the trend was beginning to take hold. Allegory played a significant role in the poetry of this period, though often becoming mechanical and devoid of vitality. Poets like Dunbar and Lydgate employed allegory extensively, often starting with a garden and a dream before introducing stock characters like the goddess of love, virtues, and vices. Despite its elaborate nature, allegory remained popular and would continue to attract poets in the following period. The development of ballads and carols also continued, showing improvement in polish and expertise. These poems, including those about Robin Hood and Fair Rosamond, began to exhibit refinement compared to earlier, more rudimentary examples. While there were no groundbreaking achievements in prose during this period, it marked a shift towards the increasing importance of English over Latin. English prose found expression in the theological works such as those of Fisher and Cranmer's English Prayer Book. Historical prose was represented by Capgrave's The Chronicle of England, written in straightforward manner. Philosophical prose emerged in works like Fortescue's The Governance of England and Eliot's The Book named The Governor, focusing on educational themes. Medical literature also saw contributions with Eliot's The Castle of Health. The Elizabethan era saw the beginning of significant translations initiated by Lord Berners' translation of Froissart and the development of the English Bible. English poetry during this period experienced a noticeable decline in style. Poets like Lydgate, Skelton, and Hawes often produced verses that lacked poetic imagination and phrasing, with meters that sometimes deteriorated into mere doggerel. Their vocabulary also lacked the striking qualities seen in Chaucer's work, appearing childish and inept by comparison. Several factors contributed to this decline. Firstly, there was a lack of talented poets to carry on the tradition established by Chaucer. Changes in English pronunciation led to the rapid decay of the use of the final E in meter, and the new generation of poets struggled to adapt the old meter to suit the evolving language. However, in Scottish poetry, there was more activity, with poets often imitating style. Some Scottish poets like Dunbar and Gawain Douglas took Chaucer's descriptive allegorical method too far, resulting in lifeless poems. Yet Scottish poetry also exhibited distinct features such as a lively humor, robust independence, passion, pathos, and a keen sense of the picturesque in nature and humanity, as seen in works like Lindsay's Satire of the Theory Estatis, Dunbar's Lament of the Macaires, and Henryson's Testament of Cressida. Unlike poetry, prose style saw incremental improvements during this period, representing a notable advance overall. There was a perceptible increase in skill due to more practice, along with a growing appreciation for the rhythm and cadence of prose. The emergence of the prose paragraph was another significant development. Moreover, distinct prose styles, ornate, middle, and plain, began to emerge faintly but noticeably, promising the rapid development of English prose.